Are you tired of all the dating games, rules, and societal norms that make falling in love confusing and stressful?
Then join us as we ditch the script and empower you to establish healthy, conscious relationships.
This weekly podcast breaks down popular dating reality television and educates you on healthy versus toxic dating habits.
I'm Brianna, a licensed therapist.
And I'm Alex, a trauma-informed and certified narcissist recovery coach.
Are you ready to ditch the script?
Oh my God.
I love it. Hello. Hey, here we are.
We're here.
How funny is it? I guess it's not like haha funny. It's a little more like funny weird, but you and I have like the exact same illness at the exact same time, and we are across the country from one another.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, a real knee slapper.
A real knee slapper. I think that just goes to show that diseases go around and come around. No matter where you live and where you're at.
Let me tell you about the way in which they come and go around. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Luckily, neither of us have COVID. As far as
the vid.
It's not the vid. It is something else that is lodging itself between our noses and our ears.
It is. Yeah. So actually kind of fun story. Are you watching Last of Us on HBO or no?
No, I'm not. I haven't watched a television in a while.
Okay, good for you. Last of Us is a show that HBO created based off of the video game Last of Us. So of course I have to watch it.
Yeah,
and it's so good, and they're doing so great. And if I'm being honest, I'm low key crushing on Pedro Pascal. He's like so handsome.
I think everyone is right now. He's been in the business
for a while.
First of all, he's been in the business, and he's been hot in the business for a really long time. But it was like just recently TikTok caught wind because of, I know he's in the show.
Yeah.
That people are like, oh my God, sexy man.
So the other day I'm like coughing, and my guy friend is like, oh, do you have the fungus? And I was like, what are you talking about? Fungus? Am I going to turn in? Or at first I was like, you're a fungus, because that's Alex's sense of humor. Like, you're a fungus. I'm 5. And I was like, am I going to turn into a clicker? Is like what I did. And he ended up telling me that there's been like gnarly winds here in the desert, like 30, 50 miles per hour gusts. And so apparently it's kicked up this fungus that when you breathe it in, it gives you this. And that's what he had a week ago. So I'm like, I don't know if that's what it is or if it's just a cold. All that matters is I'm healing. But I just wanted to share that with you because I thought that was funny, I guess.
Wow.
Is it though?
Oh my God. That could, no, it's not really funny. It is interesting in the way of how illnesses spread and how we can catch them. No one's safe. If we've learned anything from the pandemic, no one is safe. I know. I think I got mine from my dad, who I was traveling with this week. We did a quick trip to New Jersey to go see family due to a funeral. It was really good to see everyone, but I'm guaranteeing that he was sick. Well, he wasn't like showing the same symptoms that I am right now, but he was runny nose and was sneezing a lot. He didn't have the congestion, but I do believe that mine's just showing up differently, and I have what he was rocking with. Yeah. And oh my God, so many people did I hug and kiss.
Right.
So sorry.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, that's kind of the thought that came up for me is I'm like, where did I get this? And I'm like, okay, well, hotel, lots of people in and out. And then Steven with the fungus thing. And I was like, is that a thing? And then I finally got to a place where I'm like, look, let's be real. We're not going to track this down. We're not going to figure it out. We're just on the ride. We are on the I'm sick and I'm going to do what I can for myself and heal ride. I will say it's really fucking hard to take care of yourself when you're sick. Like, meaning cooking for me yesterday to get up while I was like, and I got lightheaded. So I was like, cereal it is, because that's the fastest thing I can make. It was really pathetic. Today we're doing chicken soup.
Good for you. Yes. Wonderful. And what I also notice is taking care of yourself when you're sick is really difficult. Taking care of your dog while you're sick kind of like it's a scene. Like I went to
a little inconvenient.
It's a little inconvenient, and I did bring Tucker to the beach this morning because I was like, it's low effort for me, because he can like I don't really have to walk him, and he'll get like a lot of energy out. But damn, on the beach, I'm just like I'm like I shouldn't have been there. I just shouldn't have been there.
Well, hindsight's 2020. Yeah, I ran out of tissue, so now I'm on a toilet paper roll.
Yeah, I have a paper towel sneeze guard going on over here. I don't have any tissues. Like I have to go get some tissues. Yeah. Tissues is not like a thing that I buy.
Oh man, I feel you. That used to be me. And then I had to accept the fact that I'm that person that basically has a runny nose during the winter pretty regularly. Like it's just a thing, an Alexism. So I started buying facial tissue because I'm like, let's be kind to the skin on our nose. And I crushed a whole box yesterday of tissues. And so now my nose is like drying out. So I'm trying to like, moisturize it between sessions, but it's a thing. Oh. Back to the dog thing. I feel you. Jax has been an angel. You really have been. Thank you. He's just over there on the couch. But
Jax is an angel.
He hasn't had a walk, so he's probably like, woman. And I'm like, sorry. Yesterday he was sitting by the door. Yeah, yesterday he was sitting by the door all good and quiet. And I was just like, no, Bubba, I'm sorry. If you want to go outside, I'll open the slider for you.
Yeah, go run around, little guy. It's okay, Jax. We're coming for you.
We're coming for you.
We're gonna. Tucker has been less patient, kind, and quiet. So it's really still about me putting aside my needs and figuring out how to meet his.
He's like, bitch, I come first. Don't you know?
He's like, I will tear this fucking house apart. You think you're not gonna walk me? Oh, you will wish you walked me. That's sort of his energy. So while we weren't planning on talking about this, I did love that. Okay. Before we get into the batch, which we are certainly going to get into, we just wanted to talk about navigating any point of transition in one's life. Yeah. And I'm really like, we kind of wanted to speak to there are people who thrive in change. I would kind of identify myself in that category. And then there are people who feel really challenged and sometimes even triggered by change, which also makes a lot of sense considering your history, whatever that includes. And then it's a spectrum. So everyone can be way in between. And I know a lot of people that really struggle with change, and change is incredibly stressful. So we just sort of wanted to talk about that, things that we've learned in the trade and in life.
Yeah. I feel like there's been a lot of change for a lot of people. And whether that's like change from a breakup and navigating that, change from getting into a relationship and navigating the schedule shifting and prioritizing, or leaving a job or getting a new job. I think my biggest tip for what's really worked for me in these kinds of moments is sitting with the parts of myself that are freaking the F out about whatever it is that's coming down the pipeline, and just spending time with them and allowing them to be heard, and then meeting whatever needs they have. And so for me, like a lot of my biggest thing is like, I want to feel secure in my life. Like I don't want to feel like I'm pinching pennies to be able to pay bills. I don't want to feel, stressed about an imbalance between work and life and like all these other things. And so the part of me that desires to feel secure, being able to sit down with her and just be like, what do you need? And if they're like, well, I want a game plan, it's getting really clear on what that game plan is. Sometimes it's even just reminding myself of my own track record. I think that for me personally, I'll be super transparent here. I have a very comfortable relationship with anxiety. And so when that starts to speak up, it's like, I need to take a moment to get quiet, sit with her, and whatever her fears are, I feel like 90% of the time, I have proven that I'm capable of like taking care of her in the past. So it's like reminding myself, like, remember this other time that really brought on a lot of anxiety, but look at how we did. We did so good. And just reminding her, like, every time that you've been up against some kind of challenge, you've met it, and you've exceeded whatever the expectation was. And so maybe that's helpful for anyone listening. Like, remind yourself of your own track record. Like, if you have a habit of like, I've always been able to pay my bills on time or whatever it is, I've always been able to navigate this work-life balance with a better, you know, mindset around putting my needs first, setting boundaries, whatever it is, remind yourself of that. And if there's a part of you that's like, we could do better here, like there could be improvement, that's okay too. And so then the next step is, okay, well, what does that improvement look like for me right now? You know, what can I implement? What's one little baby step I could take? So I hope that was helpful for anyone navigating change.
I think that that was incredibly helpful. I think like a big takeaway is to just give yourself a bit of time to sit and pause and see if you can notice what's coming up in your reaction as you anticipate the change, because anxiety can be seen as sort of a sick brain, sort of like a flare gun. Like anxiety, we recognize that anxiety is coming up because it makes us feel frantic and a little panicked and all of a sudden all jittery and like everything's moving a mile a minute. Our thoughts are moving a mile a minute. But I like to think about it as like a flare gun, as like there's something about how I'm reacting that really wants my attention. Let me pay attention to it. Exactly. So if you think about it as a flare gun, you can sort of meet it with curiosity and be like, okay, what are we reacting to? What's happening? And so sometimes it's just fear. A lot of times it's fear, especially when it comes to change. Fear. I'm scared that I'm not going to be okay. I'm scared that this isn't going to be better than the situation that I'm leaving right now. I'm scared that this new apartment isn't going to be good for me. I'm scared that this new job isn't going to be good for me. Yeah. And I think that being able to look back and what you said, that sort of that evidence of like, when have I navigated and took risks, or what felt like really, really big risks in the past? How did that go? I'm here. Yeah. I'm okay. And if it wasn't perfect, I learned from it and I'm still okay. Yeah. Sometimes it's not helpful. Like, I definitely don't want to recommend that navigating change and the anxiety that comes with change has to include being like, it's going to be great. This new apartment that I'm going to move into is going to be way better than the situation I'm in. This new job that I'm going to, way better than the situation that I'm in. This new relationship or being signal, way better than where I'm coming from. That might not be, that's not like a promise that you can deliver for yourself so much. But being able to manage your expectations and be like, I'm taking the risk of switching this up and I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Another thing that came to mind when you were sharing that I've been playing with a lot recently, and this is kind of fun, but I want to make space for this, but I want to preface this by saying we need to deal with the freak out moment before we can accessibly get to the exercise I'm going to share with you. But for me, like a lot of the thoughts that come up for myself and also helping clients work through the anxiety that comes up with these kinds of relationships they're leaving. Like, oh my God, what if, and there's some kind of negative. It's like, but what if this happens? But what if that happens? But what if da-da-da? And it causes, one, the anxiety spiral to continue, but two, for us to cling to things that aren't healthy for us. And so when I'm done taking care of my anxious parts or whatever part I need to sit with, I then say, well, let's play a game and let's twist that. What if this is everything I want it to be and more? What if I make X amount of money overnight? Like, just like have fun with it. You know what I mean? And like play with the part of the story that, let's be real, we all want what we want. So what I mean by that is like the part of you that's excited for the dream that you're chasing, put that in the plot line instead of the, disruptor part of the storyline. So instead of being like, but what if this fails? It's like, well, what if this succeeds? Because we don't have any proof of one or the other right now in this moment. We don't know what the future holds. But when we take so much time to obsess over the negative, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So something that I've been really playing with is like meeting those needs of the freaking out parts and then going to the fun, like, okay, let's play. Like, what if this happens? What if this really exciting thing happens? What if this is so much easier than we're anticipating? You know what I mean? So something to play with.
I love that. Yeah. Give yourself some room to like dream. I think that brings up a lot of fear for people too, because it can bring up a sense of deserving, usually a belief that I don't deserve.
Yeah.
And the thing
usually
is
the core wound behind it all.
Yeah, right. Right. When you dig a little, you have to go through a little bit of Socratic questioning. It's usually what we end up discovering. But the thing is like to engage in that exercise that you just described, you don't have to believe that you deserve anything. You're just dreaming. You're just imagining what it would be like to imagine that I could like make way more money than I'm making right now. What it would be like to imagine that this opportunity is going to allow me to grow and like access this desirable end goal for myself. You don't have to put money or energy into being like, and I believe that I deserve that. I would encourage you that if there's a big gap between feeling that and being able to really believe it, I encourage you to like do that work to get to a place where you're like uncovering why you feel like you don't deserve it. And how can I get to a place where I can start to, affirm myself that I do deserve lots of great things, wonderful things. But you don't have to believe it in that moment. You're just imagining. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. Have fun. Have fun dreaming.
Have fun dreaming. There's a song, but I don't have the wellness coins to cash in to sing it.
Oh, man.
About dreaming. I know.
Next time.
Okay. Should we talk about The Bachelor?
Probably, because that's why we have this show. I also just hit my ring light, so nice. You can see my face better.
Ooh, good. That's nice. Hey. Welcome.
We can totes talk about The Bachelor, and I'm kind of laughing because I have like no notes this week.
I know. I have very few notes too.
Because of what ended up happening, which we'll talk about in a mo.
In a mo.
Talk
about in a mo.
Like literally, okay. I don't have to scroll at all to see all of my notes.
Good for you. Easy access to all of your analog thoughts.
Yep.
Okay. So we start. Gabi gets a one-on-one date.
Yeah, we're in London. We're in London now.
We're in London.
We are.
Cheerio.
London town. Yeah.
Okay, so we have some like UK listeners on this show. So please forgive us.
Oh my God,
forgive us.
I also was like, so you know how London's super touristy? Like it's one of the most visited cities in the UK. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's like, I guess kind of an equivalent to New York City, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was taking a moment to sit there and be like, because I'm that person that's like, oh my God, you're from London? Tell me all about it. And it's like, that's like someone like, oh my God, you're from LA? Oh my God, you're from New York City? And it's like, yeah, and like,
yeah. Well, I get that.
So I just want to say like, be kind to us. Cause like, I feel you, I can get how like, if the shoe were on the other foot, how weird it might be us obsessing over some really fun spot, but
right.
We don't have a giant Ferris wheel in New York City or LA. So that's something London has over us, and it's much cleaner there. Also a plus.
What about, isn't there a Ferris wheel in Venice Beach?
Maybe. And I just don't know. I mean, there's one on the Santa Monica Pier, but it's not like the nice giant one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know about Venice. I've only been to Venice Beach once. It's not worth it.
Wow, really?
It's not worth it.
No, it's not worth it. No, it's not worth it. I've been there more times than I'd care to admit. I've been there a lot. But, oh, that's so interesting. Okay, wait. I wanted to ask you about England. Have you ever been to England?
No, girl, I've never been out of the country.
Oh my God, let's leave.
We're doing it. Oh, I'm getting a passport. It's on this year's bucket list, and I'm going to do something. We're going to Mexico. We're doing something, but London is on my radar. I've had a couple clients over there, so I'm like, we got to go. I got to go visit them.
I really want to go to the UK.
Yeah.
Bad.
Me too.
Bad.
Yeah. Pseudo parents just went and said it was like a wonderful experience. Like, amazing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We'll do it.
I just want to get a pint.
Let's go. Let's get a pint. And I want to snog a really hot dude in a pub.
Yeah, I'm trying to snog. Okay, that was also something that came up. Kat was like, we'll get to this later, but she was having like a virtual date with Zach, and she was talking about English words that she learned, and she said snog, but she said snug. She really didn't get it right.
No, she didn't.
I was like,
and then she said snogs too, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, she said snogs. I was like, oh my God, you've never seen
never
Love
watched
Island
Love
UK.
Island. That's exactly. I was like, you guys are living under a rock. Like, how do you not know?
I know.
Buzzed. Like, come on, y'all. Let's get with it.
Yeah, come on.
Anyway.
Okay. So we're in the UK, and they very much, like, for Gabi's date, they very much do like what feels like quite stereotypical, and for the group date too, very stereotypical London stuff. So I'm so curious from anyone who's listening from the UK. Thank you for being here. And what did you think of this? Like, this,
was it a good representation, or was it bullshit?
I can't imagine that it was.
I know.
It was just kind of cliche, no?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we want to hear. So let us know. Slide into our DMs.
Let us know.
With the full review.
Okay. So for Gabi's one-on-one, I didn't really care what they were doing. I just loved, she seemed like someone that I was like, oh, I want to travel with her.
Same. Yeah. I knew she was cool. I just had a feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm really stoked we got to see more of her, because, like, she's my kind of girl. Like, she makes the same kind of jokes that I make. Like,
oh my God, I had that same thought about you. I did. I was like, this is like Alex's humor. It's like a little quirky, but it's quick, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's quirky, and there's like a little bit of a healthy self-deprecation going on. It's funny. Like, it's really good. And she was so adorable.
Yeah. She was cool. I like, and I want to, like, make space for, you know, because we saw her tripping. The maple syrup intro, like, didn't hit as well as she wanted it to. And then she had, like, a few moments where she was like, okay, is there anything here? She had the one freak out because her nerves, like, really effed up. Like, if you look at their one-on-one date and that conversation where she was putting her foot in her mouth because she was so nervous, like, it's not the same person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm really glad that she got to, like, just be her in her own little date world. And, you know, Zach loved it. Zach and her really connected. Yeah. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, me too. I just, like, she reminded me of one of those people who you could take them anywhere, and you could be doing something that's quite serious, or something that's, you could have stripped down all of that fancy bullshit and, like, thrown them in the woods somewhere, and she would have been having a good time, no matter what, wherever she was. And I really, really, really love and appreciate that energy. And it seems like he was sort of catching on to that too, because they're sitting there and they're mixing perfumes to create a scent. And I'm dying. I'm literally laughing out loud, because she's just like, she cannot take the experience seriously.
Christmas and a little bit of weed.
Yeah. And he's like, marijuana? And she's like, yeah. Sorry, there's going to be burping and sniffling
coughing
and coughing and the occasional sneeze. So, like, just
sorry in advance.
Prepare yourself.
Bear with us.
Yeah. There's always burping, but now there's just going to be more.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah. And I loved that they made their little Zabby perfume. I was like, that's something that would be on the shelf. Zabby, like, a name like that. It's cute. Zabby. It was cute. I want to smell it, though. I wanted to know what they chose to blend it with. The only thing I know is there's bergamot in it. Like, give me the full recipe.
I've never even heard that word before.
Bergamot. I have the essential oil in my cabinet of oils. It's delicious.
What does it smell like? Is it like woodsy, or is it different?
It's more, how would you describe it? It's more like, it's not woodsy. It's like lighter in scent, and like, I want to say like citrusy floral vibes, like up there. It's it's like, of course, this is kind of a relative question, because I'm curious to know how other people would describe bergamot, because it's hard to describe. You know what I mean? It's like, how would you describe jasmine other than being like, it's floral? It's like, it's hard to express, you know?
Yeah. I don't know how to describe most things. Yeah, we'll Google it.
We're going to Google it. Let's see what they have to say. It says, dun da da dum.
What's the word? Bergamot?
Citrus.
With a B?
Yeah, bergamot. Citrus orange. It's a fragrant citrus fruit. Size of an orange with a yellow or green color similar to a lime. The end. So it's citrusy.
Yeah, that's not what I was expecting, but it sounds fresh.
But Gabi, Zach, give me the rest of your recipe. I'm gonna try and recreate whatever you created on my own.
In like an essential oil situation.
Blend. Yeah.
Okay, so then they play with corgis on the ground, which
that was
seemed
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting watching them like roll around. It was like
on the floor.
They were rolling around on the ground, and then all of a sudden they were on the floor, and it was like, what's happening? Yeah. And then they went shopping where she was trying on gowns.
For real.
And that, I mean, also looked like a lot of fun. There's always one of those in a Bachelor episode, right?
Have you ever been with someone who has taken you on a shopping spree like that?
No, never. Everyone I've ever dated is broke as hell.
Got you. Yeah, I haven't either, but I put myself in that scenario and I would feel really overwhelmed, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they would feel comfy, cozy, because I'm usually like, let's hit a thrift store. I would go to a thrift store,
right,
and do that. But
of course,
but that's way like, out of my comfort
stroll
zone.
Up in Saks Fifth Avenue and like I have a shopper and like we're gonna try on gowns. I would be like,
what are we doing here?
Where's my beanie?
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm being totally honest, there's definitely a part of me that's like, sounds kind of nice. It sounds nice. Yeah. Like I love clothes. I love fashion, but it's not a corner of fashion that I've ever really allowed myself to indulge in. Right. So it feels so, and I'm uncomfortable with people buying things for me everywhere. So it, like in theory, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. There's a part of me that's like, ooh, that's nice. And then in practice, I think that I would actually be really uncomfortable, and I'd be like, I hate everything. Let's get out of here.
Overwhelmed.
Probably
run away.
Be true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, gown shopping. It is a thing. It's intense. Shopping. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So she picked this really pretty blue one.
She's stunning. She's a stunning girl.
Stunner.
She's a stunning girl. We get like the first wind of her own thought process on what it's like to be in a setting like that. And she's speaking more to the experience of like, she didn't really like get to see a mirror first before Zach got to see her. And so she's having this experience of a man that she's attracted to is like giving her these nonverbal and verbal cues to say like, wow, you are so beautiful and you look amazing and I'm so attracted to you. And it makes her feel really seen, which is so beautiful. I'm really glad that she got to have that experience, because what she goes on to say and say more of is she doesn't often feel that way. I think she, like the rest of us, have trouble feeling good inside her body, and she struggles with self-image, and that's not new because hello, we're women and we all
are always picked on for this.
Yeah. So that seemed like that was a pretty important and significant moment for her to feel like, wow, I look beautiful and believe it. It's nice.
Yeah. It is nice. It's kind of like, it reminds me of Brandon and Serene. And how he just like the way he looked at her and the way his face lit up when he saw her. It was like a similar dynamic with Zach and Gabi. And I can only imagine. And I've had this experience actually where like I got dressed up and a partner was like, oh my God, look at how hot my girlfriend is. And it's like, it feels so good to be like desired and shown off and like, So I'm really freaking stoked for
Acknowledged.
Gabi. I know. And I'm really excited to see where their connection goes, because if I'm being honest, like I really thought Kat and Katie were like the only two front runners, and Gabi kind of came in and is like up there with them now. You know what I mean?
I know.
So goes to show how much can happen on a one-on-one date. And the other thing, Yeah, and I'm really interested just to see like how it all starts to develop down the road, and the preview for what's coming up, man, at the end of this episode. Whew, we got a long way to go.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot that's going to happen. Okay, so she gets some of these things. She brings them back to the hotel. I hate this.
Me too.
Hate this. And I know that this is a producer setup.
Yep.
Like,
me too.
They require all of the girls to like be in the room when she comes back. They require them to stick around to like see and receive Gabi coming in the middle of this date. And they have to ask Gabi what her thoughts are. And the girls have to just fucking pony up and be there for it. And it feels so yucky.
I think they do it on purpose for that to have, of course. Because think about it. Yeah, if they didn't, then Greer wouldn't we have had the hallway scene. You know what I mean?
The hallway scene.
Which just like, I really, and maybe they do, and we just don't know about this because it's publicized, but I really hope they offer therapy to every single one of these women and men who go on this show and leave. Because like,
doubtful.
Oh, I know. That's what I think too, but I want to be wrong. And if they don't do it now, I hope they do it in the future. Cause like these poor people, like they're literally being triggered, and there's no reprieve from it, you know, constantly. And it's like, I feel for them, and I don't want these people leaving. And because of the wounds from the show, making shit decisions in their personal life. It's just so sad.
Well, also like, it was so interesting because I understand that there were a lot of girls there that were like, wow, this is exactly the kind of date or the way that I want to be treated, which sounds like it's a little bit different than how you and I feel in these certain situations. But it is not lost on me that women fantasize about being treated this way by their partners. And it's entirely valid that they desire that and they want that for themselves. What I heard when the girls were quite jealous and they were like, I have always wanted an experience like this. What I understood was I have been thinking about the way in which I deserve to be treated for a really, really long time. And this is this felt almost accessible because it's right here.
Right.
And I want to be treated that way. I've wanted to be treated that way. And I feel for them. And I also had a note where I was just sort of like, these girls know that this isn't just like how Zach treats women, right?
Right.
Like, this is
show. This isn't Zach's personal wallet. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I hope that you guys can realize that, like, yes, it would be lovely to be taken on this date and have this experience. But if you end up together and you leave the show, I hope we understand that this might not be the expectation that we have walking away.
Yeah.
While we date this man, like, where's my shopping spree?
Exactly. I'm so glad you're bringing that up because I think, I think that people come on this show and lose sight of the reality because they get swept up in the fantasy of it all. And that's exactly right. Like, Zach isn't pulling his personal Amex card out to pay for the perfume and the gown and everything, the tiara, everything else she got, right? Like, that wasn't his personal card. It's ABC, which has probably billions of dollars. So it's just these women need to make sure they're falling in love with the person, not the experience, right? Like, there's a completely different side to it all. And, this is like, okay, I'm going to just spill the tea on this. Caitlin Bristow, who's one of my favorites from the Bachelor, Bachelorette franchise, she was talking about her experience on The Bachelor with Chris Soules, and she was top 3 when she got sent home. And she admits now in hindsight, she's like, I don't think I was really in love with Chris. I was in love with the process. And like when we're standing there at a rose ceremony waiting to hear our name, it's really, we're just so desperately trying to avoid this sense of rejection over, I actually am in love with this person. And so it's so true. And it's like, it really, for the couples that make it on this show, which are rare, but like Sean Lowe and Catherine are one of the strongest couples that made it out of the franchise and are still together, but they had really normal human being conversations. I remember watching their season, and they're sitting on a boat doing calculus together. They're like doing math because they both are really smart. So they were sitting there like, what's 144 times da 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 da? Like, you know what I mean?
Shut
like that.
up.
Yeah. And so it's like, that's the kind of quirkiness that it's like this couple, they had this date, they end up getting married, they have multiple kids and they're happily ever after, but it's not the gown that, you know what I mean? That she's leaving with, that she's in love with. It's the person. So I just wanted to say, like, this is something that a lot of people realize after leaving the show. Like, I wasn't really in love with that person. It was just the process of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be careful.
I think a lot of people are going to leave feeling that way as well. Yeah. Because none of this is realistic. I mean, for a very small percentage of people, and even so, of the small percentage of like men that are going to treat you this way, I'm always cautious, because it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't make me feel like this person's trustworthy. It feels like buying affection.
Got you. Yeah. Do you think you might be more comfortable with it if you had been in a relationship with someone for an extended period of time before they did that?
I guess. Oh, like,
let's say you were together for a year and then on their 1-year anniversary, they were like, I want to take you on a shopping trip.
I guess, like,
it's
logically, I want to say yes. But also, like, if they knew me well enough, if they were like, we were celebrating a 1 year, we'd be doing something different. We're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing. I'm the same way.
I feel the same. It's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love shopping, but like, if I'm going to go shopping, I'm going to go shopping with my friends. And it's also a very rare occurrence. And it's a very, like, I know what I want and what I'm shopping for. I'm not the girl that's like, let's go to the mall and spend the whole day. Like, that's really overwhelming for me. It's like, I need a dress for this occasion. Come with me. Let's have fun. Like, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Very specific. Yeah, I'm the same way. But I know people who have had experiences like this with their loved ones, and they're like all about it and they feel like a princess, and that's wonderful. I'm with you though. I'm like, I don't know if that's me. It's not my style.
Yeah, it could just be me. It could just be like not trusting people that use money this way, because I'm not familiar with using money this way. So I will recognize that.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. Like, if we have expendable cash, it's like, shopping spree, cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's different. All right, cool.
Okay, let's talk about Greer for a second, because this is right when a moment, and Greer's really upset, and I am upset for her. I feel bad for her. And to be honest, and maybe this is an edit to help us like sort of be in her experience, I am lost with her. I am lost as to why she got the first impression rose and she has not had a one-on-one date until this time. Like, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like, what? Like, and I know, and I get it. Like, the other relationships seem significant, but like, to be fair, and again, this could just be a product of the editing experience to foreshadow who was going to be relevant at the end. But
right.
Allie's one-on-one date was a surprise to me, where I would have seen like Greer getting a one-on-one at that time. Right. Something like that. Or even Brooklyn. So I just, it was just I was a little confused. So Greer gets really upset because she like loves tea. Tea is how her and her family come together. She has shared this with Zach. She has like a tea cup tattooed on her body. So like, obviously this is like a big deal for her. At first I was like, okay, but how would he know that? But apparently he shared that with her, and she's just connecting the dots, and she's feeling quite left out and rejected and very much unseen by being in a place, a part of the world that is like big on tea, that would definitely include tea as part of a date, and Zach not choosing the like aforementioned tea lover for a one-on-one date experience. And she was really upset, and I don't blame her for being upset. I do think that she's connecting some dots and she's making assumptions, but I understood it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, in seasons past, I feel like the person who gets the first impression rose usually gets a one-on-one pretty soon. So I'm with you there. Like, I'm like, okay. But I think maybe in time, like as they've been on group dates and had her conversation with him at the cocktail party, it just didn't feel like there was much of a natural connection. And then there was that communication mishap and like all of that, which we'll get into in a minute. But I'm just curious to know if Zach, like over the weeks, like that first conversation, that first night, he clearly felt really comfortable with Greer. But I'm wondering if like it might just be that like she makes him feel comfortable, but there might not be any like zest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
How do you
my assumption? Yeah, just zest.
Yeah,
something to grab onto.
Yeah,
something that builds a little traction with texture. Yeah. My assumption, which is an assumption, not a fact. My assumption was that like as time has spent with whatever access Zach has had to be able to spend time with Greer, I think that he's probably just liked her less as time went on, like not felt as strongly as he did on that first night, and was just sort of like, I'm trying to make room for these other connections. Yeah. And because it also feels like that's, again, this is my assumption, as what felt underneath the miscommunication that we'll talk about in a little bit, because I was like, I only see people responding like that to people when it's clearly a communication breakdown because they like don't like them. They like already have strikes against them. Yeah. So
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So then there's a group date. Is that where you're headed?
Yeah, there's a group date. Yeah. I was gonna talk about Greer. I was gonna talk about Greer, poor thing, like losing it in the hallway at Gabi, like passing her room at first. Cause I felt for Gabi, because I think Gabi was really like, just be invisible and get to your room and like leave her be, you know what I mean? And then in that whole thing, she ended up passing her room and then had to double back and be like, that's actually my room. And Greer was sitting right in front of it.
So awkward.
So awkward. I just felt bad for both of them, because what I appreciate about these two is that they aren't holding it against the other person. like Gabi isn't like, how dare Greer? You know, she actually is sensitive to it and is like, I'm not trying to show off. And then like Greer isn't being like, how dare Gabi? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I do appreciate that these two held space for each other's experience instead of like pointing the finger. Cause I think a lot of times that's what can happen, is like, I'm feeling pain. So in order to like try and help myself not feel this, I'm going to be mean to you. You know what I mean? Right. So I was really thankful and just wanted to say that. Now let's talk about the group date.
Yeah. So basically everyone but Charity is invited on the next group date. Charity catches wind that she's going to be on the one-on-one, which is great. I was really excited for her.
Me too.
Because I know that sort of felt like a long time coming.
Yeah.
And the group date ended up not happening. Well, I mean, it happened, but Zach wasn't part of it because he was sick.
He got the vid.
He got the vid. And for the second week in a row, me and Zach have something in common. In that he is sick and I am sick and you are sick.
Yes, we are all
Whereas
sick.
Last week he went on my dream vacation. You know?
To Bahamas. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I want to talk about like the group date dynamics that sort of happened as that news broke. Okay. And the rest of the day happened. So Greer was really upset the day before. She finds out that she's on the group date. She's even more upset. And then she does what she needs to do to wake up the next morning and turn it around.
Yeah.
And even when she found out that Zach wasn't going to be there, she was like, we're making the most of it. And I F with that energy.
Yeah, same.
I do.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Come on,
we could ladies. Wallow, but I'm in London right now.
I'm in the U frickin' K, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's get a move on.
Let's get
on that double-decker bus. Yeah. Let's get on that bus. Let's go get stuck in the rain and let's figure it the fuck out.
Let's go find some boys to snog.
Yeah, that's right. Kylie, on the other hand, was really having a hard time getting to that same place of like, we're here to have fun. And I think Kylie's experience reminds me a lot of what you were just talking about with like Caitlin Bristow. I don't see Kylie and Zach having a connection any
Me
way,
neither.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
It doesn't, every time they talk to each other, I'm like, you're sort of showing up on like, with like your best date face on, and he's showing up with his best date face on, and like the two of you are not really like vibing.
No.
But you're nice to each other, so you leave feeling happy.
Yeah.
So I think that Kylie's like desperate
nice
to sort of
other.
yeah, like you ever have that? You like go on a date and like you're both perfectly nice to each other and you have no reason to be like that was a bad date, but it just definitely wasn't a date that feels
there's actually a person
like
that comes to mind literally as you're saying this from like years ago, and I'm like, that dude, I don't remember his name, but I remember the date, and I like super nice, super like easy to talk to, but I left and I was like, meh.
Nah. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But because of these circumstances, I think like in a typical situation, either Zach or Kylie would have left and been like, yeah, not for me. But in this circumstance, I think Kylie is like desperate to prove to herself that she is worthy of being chosen in the way that she believes that she is. And I love that for her, but this is just not the guy.
Right. Yeah.
So she's feeling rejected because she's just like, fuck, I lost my opportunity again. And same with Mercedes. I lost my opportunity to connect with this person again. And I get it, because on this show, if you don't get that time, you're falling behind.
Yeah.
The shit really is like a race. It's super weird.
It is like it's not, in my opinion, it's not really conducive to a natural relationship forming. Like,
I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel for Kylie and Mercedes not being able to do it. My only thing that was kind of annoying me, and I get how they felt this way, but if I'm being really honest, like I feel stood up, and it's like, yeah, okay, I get that, and I hear that, and it's understandable why you're feeling that way. And simultaneously, it's not like this person's choosing not to show up because they don't feel like showing up. They're literally sick and having to quarantine. So can we find it within us to, instead of sitting in the pain that I'm like labeling, like I'm being stood up and he doesn't care. It's like you're taking a person who's sick and assigning all of this meaning to it, when it's like, it's just a shitty way that the dice were rolled for this opportunity, you know? And I really wish that they could have just enjoyed it, you know? And I feel like maybe they did and we just didn't get to see that on camera, but man.
We saw a lot of people enjoying it. But I agree with you. I'm so glad that you brought that up. When you choose to label it, like when you just label it based on the feeling that it's giving you, you are going to double down on that experience.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that someone like Kylie in this situation would feel stood up. But since that's not actually what happened, what she needed to do is like, or what I would recommend people do if they're in a similar situation. Cause like I've had dates planned and someone canceled and been like it's not going to happen. I could have a date tonight and I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
But what I would recommend that people do in this situation is recognize, okay, I feel stood up, but since I am gathering, what I understand is that they're actually sick and they can't make it. I feel stood up, but they're not actually standing me up.
Right. Exactly.
So might that be different?
And that's where, like, we need to understand our feelings aren't facts. Like, they're feelings, and they're very natural, valid, understandable feelings. But we need to be very careful that making our feelings be factual. Like, that's not the same. So it's like, catch yourself. Because I used to be in that place. And so it's like, I see it so clearly now, probably because of my own experience, but it never behooved me to like stay stuck in my feelings. It just created more compounding feelings and negative spiral, and it wasn't helpful. So make peace with those feelings and feel those feelings fully while simultaneously looking at the actual facts of what's happening, and then, take action from there. So I will say, the highlight for me was seeing Greer chug that beer.
I totally agree.
I would not have been able to do that. You would.
Me
I would
neither.
be team.
I
think you would.
It would give me a bellyache.
Yeah.
But I would do it.
I think you would be a better chugger than me. I would root for you.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you.
I would root for you. Yeah.
I would travel with Greer. That's what I also took away from that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's a riot. She's quite extroverted. So she's quite, I really like, I like Greer's energy. Yeah. I even noticed non-verbally in all of the experiences that we see her, even though she's going through it, she's upset, but like, she really like, I think she has a good idea of who she is. And even though she's quite young, she has a good idea of who she is, what she wants. She even says, I don't know if it's in the beginning of this episode or later on, she's like, it's not fair for me to just continue to hang on to the feeling that I had that first night. And I was like, damn, bitch, that's good fucking insight. Good for you. You're right. We should notice when we're just hanging on to a glimmering moment that happened a while ago, that many other moments have happened that don't measure up, and like maybe that's some information to consider. Like she sits back here when she even talks about herself and her feelings and how she feels. Like she's quite open, she's quite sure of herself, but she is also vulnerable. I like her energy. It's not perfect. We know that, but
I'm trying to think if there were any other standout moments from this group date, but I'm not coming up with any.
I just think that the girls did a good job of turning it around and really like spending the day with each other. And we still got to see elements of their personality come through. And I loved that opportunity.
Yeah.
They go to the cocktail part
of their
group date. Yeah. So they know that Zach is sick, but they don't know that he has COVID.
No, not yet. I forgot about the guard that the one chick was like twerking up on.
Yeah. Mercedes.
I felt bad. I was like, that poor man. He's like standing.
He's just trying to do his job.
Probably all day that shit happens. I'm like, how do they not have like guards in front of the guards to be like, stop fucking around with him? You know?
I think that's definitely a touristy thing. I think that again,
he's
UK
paid to stand there to let the tourists twerk up on him.
No. I think that only tourists are going to be the ones that like go up to someone.
But there's a lot in that area. So I just feel it's like, God, that must be incessant. Poor dude.
Poor dudes.
Everyone who have that job.
Yeah. Shout outs to you.
I would lose it. I'd be like, stop it. And then I'd get fired.
Yeah, that's right. That's why it's shitty. It's like, would any of them want someone to come up to them at
and
their
like
job
fuck around with them?
Twerk up on them?
Yeah. No.
But I understood why they were doing
I got it too, but like, man, for me, the twerking crossed the line. I would have been like, Mercedes.
Yeah.
He's like, he can't defend himself. It's like sexual harassment. If a guy came up and was like, I'm not touching your boobs, but I'm touching your boobs, like there would be hell to pay. Like,
isn't it? Yeah. I'm with you. I feel the same way. I'm like, this feels
really bothered me.
Yeah. There's like a rule follower side of me that's just like, you guys, we're not supposed to do this. We're not supposed to do this. This isn't cool. It's against the rules. We're making this like challenging for him. Like, please leave him alone. Yeah. So then they think that they're gonna see Zach at the cocktail party, but of course they get another letter from him saying that he's not gonna make it, and they're upset. I think that the girls were a little bit more angry than they were at the top of the day when they found out that he wasn't gonna be there for the date portion, because I think that they were just sort of like holding out hope. They didn't know yet that he had COVID. I don't think that he even knew yet. But that's how that cookie crumbled. And then they all went home and they were sad. And then the next day they find out that Zach is COVID. Zach's emotional. Zach's upset. He decides that he wants to have like a virtual cocktail party, which the only good thing about that is that he got to have designated one-on-one virtual time
with all of them,
with every single girl.
Yep.
And then there was a rose ceremony.
Yeah. So, first I feel awful because Charity, she got her one-on-one date got canceled because of the COVID.
Yeah. Poor thing.
I know. And so I really hope that they get to make that up. Because that would really suck. Okay, good. And then
they do. We see it.
Cool. And then during the cocktail party where Zach was Zooming with each each chick, Greer and him had a really awkward miscommunication slip. And I kind of want to talk about the slippery slope of comparing emotions, like from desire. And I get this. We all desire to be related to. And so that's where I think Greer was coming from. But Zach was like low-key offended. So what ends up happening is Zach is expressing like, you know, it's really frustrating, like wanting, like being sick in this moment while desiring to like meet my future wife and being in this like crunch time period. And Greer is like, oh yeah, I totally get how you feel. I'm in sales, and like at the end of a quarter, like if we're about to close, I have a goal that I want to meet.
She said she had COVID and she had to miss Q4. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she wasn't able to, you know, get to the goal that she had set for herself. And so she was trying to relate like that idea of like longing for some kind of solution and it not being able to happen because of sickness. And Zach was like, well, I'm in sales too, but I would not compare finding my future wife to my work. It's two different things. And she freaked out because her people pleaser part was like, oh my God, that's not what I meant. Like, and he was upset about it. Yeah. And so I just wanted to like, what were your thoughts on that moment? Because I really felt for her, and I also understood where Zach was coming from.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt for her because I understood that that's not, I think she was just desperate to connect with him because of all this pressure that she hadn't connected with him. So like she didn't have a one-on-one. She didn't get to see him during the group date. She didn't get to see him for the cocktail event. So like for her, she was like, this is my opportunity. Let me connect with him. And it's difficult. It's awkward to do the shit over Zoom sometimes. Yeah. So what does she do? She's grasping at straws. And trying
to relate to him.
She's trying to relate to him. She's trying to make the most out of what I'm sure is probably like a full 10 minutes. And she says something that's not the same. And he, without a people-pleasing bone in his body in this moment, he's like, not what I said. And she was like, oh. I understood why he differentiated it. I do think that he could have been a little bit
warmer about it.
But I don't know if that's just for me being like too much of a people pleaser myself.
Yeah. You know, she apologized and he was like, I understand you had no bad intent. Like, I was glad that he said that at least to kind of try and comfort her. Like, I know you weren't maliciously saying that, but I just feel like it's really what I feel that moment was the two of them just not clicking. Like it just, there's a differentiation in communication there. And that's probably been happening maybe under the radar when we haven't seen it on camera, but there's little miscommunications that happen along the way. And maybe that's why she hasn't gotten a one-on-one yet. Again, total assumption. But I just felt that, like you said, Greer was really trying to like, okay, this is my make or break moment. And she was trying really hard to meet him in where he was by discussing her version of a similar situation. But to Zach, it came across what I'm assuming, he didn't say this, but what I'm assuming is invalidating. And that's why he was like, I need to differentiate the two. So, you know, I guess, and I've done this too. I've totally put my foot in my mouth when I've been trying to relate to someone and it came out not in the way that I intended. So something that I've had to work on and am still always trying to perfect is like, it's less about me and way more about just what this person's feeling in the moment. And so just keeping my mouth shut, not trying to feel the need to relate to them and just instead be in it with them and just be like, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to make a lot more of a connection that way.
I agree. I wanted to offer an alternative that is in support of exactly what you just said, which is sometimes I talk about this with my supervisor a lot, that you don't always need to solve a problem. You don't always need to offer a similarly related anecdote. I understand why people do that, because they're just trying to say like, hey, I understand what you're feeling. I have been there too. Let me tell you about my experience. But it can be invalidating, and it also can be a redirection away from what someone is just currently in the middle of experiencing. And they're like, okay, now we're pivoting to you, I guess, and what I would offer as an alternative is to just be like, that sounds like it sucks.
Shitty.
Tell me about it. What's that been like for you? What's that been like for you?
Yeah.
You've been sitting there for a couple days. You had to miss a group day. Yeah. Like, how have you been feeling? What are the thoughts that have been running through your head? Like, I think it would have helped Greer to take on more of an active listening role if she knew how to just meet him with a little bit of curiosity of like, oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, like we had this group date that you didn't get to be a part of, but at least like we got to be out there. What's this been like for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, because of this moment, Greer goes into the rose ceremony, freaking the fuck out. Poor girl.
Yeah.
Literally in tears as everyone is getting a rose. And then she ends up receiving the last rose.
I didn't think he'd give it to her.
Me neither.
I thought he was like, see you, lady.
Yeah. But she is kept on. She gets a rose, and we say goodbye to Mercedes and Kylie.
Yeah. And they are respectively bummed,
Yeah.
I think that this is when Kylie is like, I forget what she was saying exactly. I don't know if you have notes on it, but she was just like, I know that I meant to be chosen. I know that I meant to be treated better. And like, I was really hoping that this would be the opportunity, and it just wasn't. And that sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have any notes on what she said, but I think she can walk out of there with her head held high. So can Mercedes, and then bless you. And then
thank you.
You're welcome. And now they'll probably be on VIP.
Good for you, ladies. I hope Mercedes gets on VIP, because I think that I want to see more of her.
I know, we didn't see any of her at all.
None.
So sad.
Really didn't. And
so what are we ditching this week?
Fun.
Oh, sorry.
What are we ditching?
I say we are going to ditch the feelings being facts situation. We're going to be Bree's excited about this. We are going to be better about fully feeling our feelings, acknowledging and validating our own feelings, while also looking at the facts of the situation. Both can coexist. Yeah.
For example, I feel stood up. I feel rejected, but actually I am just here alone because my date is sick. Something like that.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good timing. Good timing.
Oh my
on that.
God. Yeah.
Oh my God. You guys, I just need to give the two of us credit publicly that Alex and I have done a really good job of muting ourselves every time one of us has had to have a gnarly phlegm cough or a sneeze
or anything,
and the two of us have just helped each other out and vamped in the moments when we needed to vamp. And bitch, I fucking see you.
Girl, we've been like this since we were 11.
That's right.
It's always been this way. I don't know what it is about us.
We're just cosmically connected. What do you mean?
It's cosmic connection. Ooh,
cosmic connection.
Now I have to come up with a course named Cosmic Connections.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it is a song title. I'll tell you that.
Oh, it is. Okay.
No. I mean, it's gonna be, because I made one. Yeah, 100. It doesn't exist. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah. I will tell you that what I am ditching is offering a personal anecdote for the purpose of trying to relate to someone.
Oh, yes. Especially for us ADHDers. We gotta be better about that.
Just and again, there's nothing wrong with any of us who engage in this. We've all done it. We've all done it.
All of us.
And it comes from a good place, but I just want people to remember that you are oftentimes going to be wrong about what you're assuming this person's experience is like. And it's going to kind of put them off a lot of times. And while you are seeking to connect and to relate, you're actually kind of helping yourself do the opposite. And so I would suggest instead to call in, validating what the person has just said, even if you're just repeating exactly what they just said, and asking them more about it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
So thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you next week on Ditch the Script, or hear us, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Give us a follow. Give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Ditch the Script Pod. If you have a question you want us to answer, head to ditchthescriptpod.com. And if you want to apply for a free 30-minute sesh with us, ditchthescriptpod.com/podcast. That's it. We love you.
Rock and roll.
See you later, alligator.
Bye.